Welcome back to our second session on the general ledger. During this session, we will do a few examples only to strengthen your understanding of the general ledger. You will recall from the previous sessions that our general ledger consists of 8 columns. There's 4 columns on the left and then 4 columns on the right-hand side. The first column is for my date, then my details, folio number and amount. And the right-hand side is exactly the same. The left-hand side is called the debit side, and then the credit or the right-hand side is called the credit side. Now, if we look at this transaction on the 3rd of March, the owner made a capital contribution of 100,000 and it was deposited in the bank account. Now, our first step is to determine the two accounts. Let's quickly see what are the two accounts. I would say my capital is one account because the owner made a capital contribution, and my other account will be bank. All right, now I have my two accounts and I can start to write it down. I have bank and I have capital. My next step is now to determine whether I will debit bank or whether I will credit bank, and the same with capital. Now let's start with bank. You will remember that a bank is an asset and we increase assets on the debit side. Now, if the owner made a capital contribution and that money was deposited in the bank account, then we can say that the bank account or the balance in the bank account, what we have now, is more. So in other words, the bank account increased. There's my amount. My contra account, you will remember, refer to the other account involved, which is capital. So in my details, I will have capital, and my date is the 3rd of March. All right, now we go to capital. You will remember that capital was a part of owner's equity. If my owner made a contribution now, the capital amount will go up, because today I have more capital contributions than I had yesterday. Capital or owner's equity increases on the credit side. So on my credit side, I have my date. My details refers to the other account involved, and I have my amount. Let's quickly see if I'm still in balance. I have 100,000 on the debit. I have 100,000 on the credit. Let's quickly look at the contra accounts. In the bank account, my details of the transaction referred to the other account involved. So I will just make an arrow to capital there. And then in the capital account, the entry in my capital account referred to my bank. And there's my bank account. So this is one of the examples when an owner made a contribution to the business and the money was deposited in the bank account. Very important at this stage that you must know your basic debits and credits. My next transaction, the business paid rent via EFT. All right, so immediately you know when you see the word EFT, it means that money is transferred from one bank account to another. So my first account will be bank. And the business paid rent, so my second account will be rent paid. All right. I have my two accounts. Now I need to determine where's my debit and where's my credit. Bank is a form as an asset, and assets increase on the debit side. But if I made a payment from the bank, then my money in the bank will be reduced. It will be less than yesterday, so therefore I will need to credit my bank account, I have my date, my details referred to the other account, and I have my amount. Now let's do rent paid. Rent paid, you will remember, is a form of an expense. Expenses always on the debit side. There's my amount. My other account is bank, and I have my date. Am I still in balance? I have 2,000 on the credit. I have 2,000 on the debit. If I look at the entries, my details referred to my contra account, and the details referred to the other contra account. In this transaction, our business purchased goods from a supplier and received an invoice for 4,000. All right, so now remember, when we say purchases, we refer to goods that we want to resell, and the name of the account there is purchases. So there's my purchases account. Did I pay cash? No, I didn't pay with cash. I bought on credit from a supplier, so my other account will be supplier. I have my two accounts. Now let's quickly look at the debits and credits. Purchases, you will remember if we looked at the word PEA, P-E-A, the P was for purchases, and that referred to the debit side. I have my amount of 4,000. My contra account is the other account involved, which is supplier, and it's on the 5th. My other entry then, remember the double entry, I have my date. My contra account is purchases, and I have my amount. Am I still in balance? Let's quickly see. I have 4,000 on the debit, 4,000 on the credit. Let's look at my contra accounts. In my purchases account, the entry in my purchases account related to my supplier. There's my contra account. The entry in my supplier's account related to purchases, and there's my contra account. In this transaction, our business sold goods to a customer and issued a credit invoice of 1,500. My two accounts will then be a customer, and it will be sales. I have my two accounts. I can write it down, sales, and I have a customer. Let's quickly look at the debits and the credits. Sales is part of your credit entries. My date is the 5th. My contra account is customer. My amount is 1,500. Then if I look at my customer, you will remember customer is in form of an asset. It will increase on the debit side because today I have a customer that I did not have yesterday, so my customers are increasing. Contra account sales, and I have my date. Let's look at my contra accounts. I refer to a customer there, and I referred to sales over there. In this transaction, our business paid the supplier. You will remember that the business bought goods from a supplier on credit, and the amount that we paid was 1,500 by EFT. Now, by this time, you will remember EFT always bank. There's my bank account, and we paid the supplier. There's my supplier account. Second step, determine the debits and credits. Bank is a form of an asset, always increase on the debit side. But now that we are paying the supplier, my money in the bank will go out. So in other words, it will be on the credit side. And my date is on the 28th. My details, the contra account is supplier, and my amount is 1,500. Let's look at the double entry, my other account, 1.5 my amount. I got the money from the bank to pay the supplier, and my date is 28th of March. All right. Why do I debit the supplier? Because a supplier is a liability, and liabilities will increase on the credit side. But in this scenario, we made a payment to the supplier. So in other words, the money that I owe to my supplier in total is now less. And this is why we debit the account. Let's look at the contra accounts. I referred to my contra account, the supplier, and there I referred to my contra account, which is bank. Our last transaction, the customer that bought from us on credit settled his account of 1,500. This is what he bought for, so his balance is 1,500, but he paid only 1,450. Now, whenever you see settle the account, then you know he settled the account in full. It means the difference between the amount outstanding and the amount paid is then discount. And this payment was done by EFT. Let's quickly look at our accounts. We have EFT, which is bank. I have a customer. There's my customer account. And then also, what is different from this example as the previous ones is that we have a discount there because the amount owed was 1.5, he paid 1,450, so there was a discount. There was then a discount allowed. We allowed him discount because he owed us money. All right, let's start with the beginning now. Where's the debits and credits? Our bank, will the bank increase or decrease? The customer paid into our bank account, so the bank will increase. So in other words, I will have my amount that I actually received on the debit side. My contra account will be customer. All right, let's look at the customer. The date is 28/3, sorry for that, 28 March. I think this is an error, maybe 28 March should be there. My contra is bank, and he paid 1,450. But now there's still a $50 left, and that $50 was a discount. Now, discount allowed is an expense from our side because we allow discount. So in other words, my profit will go down. So discount allowed should be on the debit side because expenses goes to the debit side. And my contra will be customer. And my date is 28th of March. Where's my double entry for this $50? It is the customer. My details, my contra account is discount allowed. And my date remains the same. So what's different in this one? I actually have 3 entries only for one transaction. Let's quickly look at the double entry principle and the contra accounts. I have bank. In my bank, I have a customer, which relates to the customer. In my customer account, I have bank. There's my contra account. Then also in my customer account, I have discount allowed. And in my discount allowed account, I have customer. So there you will see that the details for a certain entry, the details there, that account name, always relates to my contra account. This is then the end of our lesson for the general ledger accounts, how to apply the double entry principle and post your transactions in the general ledger. Our next delivery will be how to post from the journals to the ledger.